So as always, we're the National Tribal Resilience Data Work Group. This is actually our 21st meeting. And as you know, I'm sorry if it's been confusing. I hope the calendar updates went through. We meet every other month now. So we weren't here in June. Last time we met was in May, and we had a couple of really awesome speakers. And then I just moved. And so lining up speakers was a casualty for this meeting, but I have quite a few things to discuss with you. And Claudia actually from CDC is going to share with you some updates to one of their heat tracking tools. So she'll be here in about 20 minutes. She says she could be here for a short update on that. But I figure, you know what, it's been a little while since we got together. So we'll do our usual announcements, and I have a few updates on some things I'm aware of. And I actually want to review a publication with you that just came out called Drivers of California's Changing Wildfires. It came out from the Southwest Climate Adaptation Science Center. And then I was hoping to pick your brains a little bit about our upcoming summit, which is happening in November here at Paula. So, as always, we're just here to exchange knowledge on priority tribal adaptation and resilience data needs, and hopefully we'll share some tools and practices and explore any opportunities we can to kind of push things further for the tribes that we all serve. So I'm glad you are here. If you want to introduce yourself over chat, that would be great. And actually, I'm looking here to see if anybody is brand new to these meetings. I see Chris, have you been to these before? I know you and I met recently. Have you been to one of these? Oh, will you please introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. Hi, I'm Chris Hyun. He, him. I am the California State Water Board climate lead. So I work on everything climate related to the State Water Board. And I also work on our emergency drought water conservation regulations. And we're working on, I've been talking with Angie and others about our new climate and racial equity strategy, which is just is the beginning stages of being developed. And we have a forum this coming Monday, which you're all invited to. And I'll put the information on the forum. It's a virtual forum. It'll be on Zoom, also on YouTube, streaming on YouTube, and posted on our website. So you're all welcome to the forum.
Well, thank you. Emma, are you new to this group? I know Oweha certainly isn't, but have you been to these meetings before?
Yeah, I have been.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. So you know what, Chris, our next slide is really on member announcements. And if you want to talk a little bit more about that forum you just spoke about, that would be a good segue, actually. So this is a little time for any one of our members that joins these calls to just share anything relevant for fellow members, anything related to tribes, data, climate change, and health.
So great. So this Monday at 1:15 to 4 p.m., the State Water Board is hosting a virtual forum. And folks like Shasta, I believe you all would be familiar with, and Sherry Norris, the executive director of the California Indian Environmental Alliance, will be also a part of it. And so the focus here is the State Water Board has adopted a racial equity resolution back in 2021 and also an action plan in 2023. And part of that is to incorporate climate change and climate change impacts and the disproportionate impacts on BIPOC communities. And so we're convening this forum just as a kickoff and to say, we're wanting to do this, we're going to do this, and we'd like input from researchers and advocates. And so we'll have two panels, one with more research background to share, okay, how do you integrate climate and equity and water? And have understandings of that. And two, are the advocates to share their input from their own experiences and maybe studies that they've done as well. And so they'll have a dialogue together. So it's a little bit different for the State Water Board to have something like this, but we thought it would be helpful for all of our 3,000 staff to know, to learn through that experience. And we've also invited the public to sit in and ask any questions that they may have. So again, we're at the beginning stages of putting together a climate and racial equity strategy, and we wanted early input, and then we'll have other public engagement opportunities in the future as well. And we hope to have some sort of actions to recommend to our board by the beginning of next year. At the same time, we're also working on pilot projects. So it's not just waiting for next year to do any action.
Thank you, Chris. We're really happy to have you participating in these meetings as well. And I'm glad Shasta was able to make it to speak at your event. Water is something that's come up a lot in these calls, and your input will be really great. Everybody on this call is coming from this topic from a different angle of expertise. So we like to bring together these kind of thought leaders and try to understand where the best avenues for information to help tribes make progress on their adaptation work. Okay, so I'm going to leave the floor open for a bit here for other member announcements. Like I said, anything related to tribes, climate change, health, and with a data focus. Patricia.
Hi, everyone. Always good to be here. I have a couple of announcements, but then also just presenting a project that we're starting to scope out that I would love, if anybody's interested, I'd love to have some sidebar conversations, or we can even have some time here if that works for you. But one is we're doing our regional, I'm sorry. So my name's Patricia Kennedy, and I'm with the Office of Planning and Research. I'm the Tribal Research Manager with California's 5th Climate Assessment. So I wear that hat, and then I also wear a hat of like a tribal coordinator, acting tribal liaison, while we wait to hire our first tribal liaison with OPR. So in that context, a couple of things that I'd like to announce. We are doing regional engagement for California's climate assessment. We had our first session yesterday for the Sacramento Valley, but essentially we're moving throughout the whole state, and I can put the announcement in the chat. We would love you all to be there. We would love you to share these events with your partners. The morning session is really an opportunity to hear from diverse author teams, so state, local governments, academics, tribes, really trying to pull together diverse author teams this time for the assessment. And then we have representatives from the state adaptation plan, some other tools, the Vulnerable Communities platform, the state clearinghouse, and then the assessment. And then the afternoon session is a closed tribal session that we're really reserving to hear from tribes. So we had our first yesterday, Sacramento Valley, and then we'll be moving through the state over the next few months. I'll again share that link. Another thing is a really big goal of this engagement is to start gathering author teams for the California's 5th Climate Assessment. If anybody here is interested or knows somebody that might be interested in participating, we really encourage you to reach out to us or participate into these regional meetings. Previously, our author teams have largely been academic led, and that's great. We get it. That's a good, that's a good place for that. But we really want to encourage more diverse author teams. So would love your support, would love your participation in that. And then finally, sorry to take so much time, we are developing a framework for, it'll eventually be a scope of work in an RFP, but we're looking to develop a project that will produce Indigenous knowledge guidance for state and researchers within California. I recognize that this has been done, particularly our international partners, but I know a lot of folks are doing this, but we heard a lot from tribes that they're kind of sick of telling us the same thing over and over again, and it's time for us to get our stuff together. So this is an attempt to do that. However, I think we really need to come together on this, both from the state side, but then also, with our tribal partners. So we've heard a lot of feedback from tribes. Our tribal advisory group has recommended it. The 4th assessment recommended it. And then the water plan, the water summit recently with DWR heard really intense feedback for something like this as well. So we've kind of put our heads together and decided that this will be something that OPR is going to take on. We're in a very initial stages, and I'm just presenting this here now as, you know, kind of a thought. We're developing a framework that will eventually become a scope of work for an RFP to develop these guidelines. So happy to talk more about that, but would love thoughts, participation. I still have to talk to Shasta about it. I know she has so many thoughts already.
Yeah. This
yeah.
is exciting. So this will be like, is this for some kind of contractor to come in and kind of somehow take inventory and record in whatever appropriate filled way?
Yeah. And, you know, we really want it to be tribally led and really just guidance for the state and for researchers. Like, hey, this is what Indigenous knowledge is. This is how you should approach us. This is how you should handle it. These are the agreements you should have in place. This is the timeline you should expect. This is how to respond when we say we don't want to share this information, or how are you going to protect this information? So really documenting, I think, what a lot of us have heard from tribes kind of over and over again, but making it something that is tribally led, that can hopefully assist the state in more trusting and better partners, being better partners for tribes, showing up better for tribes without placing that burden on them. It's going to be tricky. But that's where we are. I would love to hear as many thoughts as possible. This is something that I feel like is going to be shaken up a lot and put back together, and shaken up a lot and put back together. And so we're here for it, and would love to hear everybody's input and feedback on that.
Does anybody have comments or questions for Patricia?
Just, I can't wait to find out more. This is going to be really good.
Yeah, Patricia, this is James Rowlingleaf. Good to meet you again. And I can't remember when the last time a meeting I was on with you guys. So I apologize for that, but good deal on the judicial knowledge handbook. As of note, I was asked to be part of a group they call subject matter experts, invited by the Department of Interior, and Chairman Ron W. Good was also part of the SME. And I had a chance to meet him and work with them about over a month ago. And so we went to Shepherdson, West Virginia, and spent 3 days with the Department of Interior level leadership, high level leadership. And so there's a guidebook that's being developed by DOE, and also a training to come along with that handbook. And so my question, I guess, for folks like you who are doing all these other kinds of things, now that's for the state. And I can't talk more about what we did and what we said and what was shared at our meeting. That's still sequestered. But I want you to be aware that that's happening, and there's a real effort to get something, at least in the first draft, to be shared by Secretary Holland at the November scheduled Travel Nation Summit. And so some of us from the SME group may get to be a part of that meeting in November. I'm hoping to be a part of that, because I think it might work again. I work as a travel advisor for a number of entities dealing with climate change, dealing with data, and dealing with travel capacity building. And so that'd be my first question is everybody's developing these handbooks now, and are they meant to collaborate, coordinate with other handbooks?
Yeah.
Or are there like, what are your thoughts on that? Because I would love to, at least be an observer to how your process works with your work with the state of California, and knowing that this other handbook is coming, and I'm aware of other efforts. I'm also wondering to this group, is there any work being done on a handbook again for travel data sovereignty? Because I know Angie mentioned several times data, and so I put it in the chat. Some of the work I'm part of called the Environmental Science Innovation Inclusion Lab. It's a $22 million data synthesis center. And so we're starting year 2. And we'll be working on an RFP to develop work groups to address certain aspects of data science, the education. And I want to make sure this group is aware that RFP is coming. And there's a great, and so my role is a tribal liaison with the senior leadership of the center. And I want to make sure tribal folks are aware of the center, aware of what it's trying to do. And, we're tackling tribal data sovereignty head on in this work as well, but we're not trying to do it alone. We're trying to learn from work like from Stephanie, Carol Russo, and all others who've been
Yes.
doing tribal for a long time. So we're not interested in reinventing the wheel. We want to collaborate, we want to coordinate, and again, learn and understand what other groups are doing around these very important topics that are coming to bear. And I think that's my update, but I wanted to let you know about that. That's also happening. Thank you.
James,
think-
so glad you're here.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think one of the first things it says in my draft framework right now is that we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. So many people are doing so many good things. We do need something that's state specific, but hey, let's all kind of work together to pull all of those efforts and all of that work and what's already being done. And so tribes don't have to keep repeating themselves, right? I'm definitely going to look into that a little bit. Thank you for sharing that. Sorry, Angie, if I cut you off.
No, I was glad you did. James, yeah, it sounds like you'd be really great, some form of an advisor. If you have a lot of knowledge there that might be transferable from other places that aren't just California specific. So wonderful. And can I ask you a question, James, about, so you have the tribal data sovereignty project happening. Are you, maybe it's a question about best practices, or do you know of anybody who is collecting Indigenous science in a respectful way, that it can be used for climate related planning and decision making? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. For us, we're collaborating with another group there called NCAR in Boulder. I mean, they're the atmospheric science group for the nation, and so they also have a Indigenous knowledge working group right now, NSF funded project. So NSF is really dipping their toe into tribal data sovereignty and beginning to support that. And so ESOL is going to be one of the groups that are going to approach tribal data sovereignty, and we're working together with tribal leaders and tribal scholars on our work as well. So we're just beginning. We're not in a rush to get to a certain point and saying, here's tribal data sovereignty handbook, or here's how you do it. Certainly we're learning from our partners in the Arctic and the Arctic group up there that's doing work around traditional knowledge and research and data. So we're have our heads down, really looking and really begin to build relationships also with those PIs and those tribal scholars and the tribal elders doing this work. So this is really the first time in my life and career where I've seen sort of mainstream science organizations really begin to approach traditional knowledge and data sovereignty, and willing to begin to think about how they do that. So I don't think anybody has one answer to that. It's certainly a process, but we're going to do what we think we should do. Again, this is in partnership with NSF. So NSF is right in there. We just had our site visit about a couple of weeks ago, and we had 4 division heads from NSF come to Boulder and spend a day and a half with us talking about these issues around tribal colleges, tribal knowledge, and tribal data sovereignty, and how you do this work. So there's a lot of yes, but how? Yes, but how? And that's where we're at, the how part. And I think what's really interesting about this work, in my perspective, is that there's tremendous diversity within the tribal nations and the tribal colleges. And so, to say that we're going to figure it all out, is not what we want to say or what we want to do. We're building a community here with this work as well. And so we're working with students, faculty, elders, community members, tribal nation leaders and such. And so the work that's going forward is going to be building these work groups, and these work groups are going to be tackling issues that environmental data science can help address. So our RFP will be coming out really soon. It's open to everybody, and so I'll make sure this group gets to see that. I'd hope to see that a group from here would come and we want to be part of a proposal to do work with us too. So stay tuned. I hope that, I'm not sure if I answered your question, Angie, but
It probably as best as anybody in the country can, to be honest. I feel like it's a hard one, you know, in my world, when I'm working on a plan with an actual tribe, you know, on the ground, trying to understand the sensitive parts of their adaptation plan, say like, you know, their cultural resources, where are they? So often they don't want to tell me, and I understand, even as their consultant. So I'm not even the state, right? But they don't even want to tell me because they've been burned, and there's a lot of good reasons not to, but they have it internally. So that's the tricky thing I always come up with, is like, what's the right level of information to ask for that allows us to do some important decision making and planning, but not to reveal something that's very sensitive and could come back to bite them, or put in a report that somebody will use in an inappropriate way, because it's happened lots of times. So I've created processes. I'm happy to share that at some point, like how to ask for enough information where they don't have to reveal too much, but that we get a sense for where some of the sensitivities are, so that a tribe itself can plan for adapting. So I don't know if, Patricia, that's useful to you either, but I'm happy to share that at some point. Cool. Anybody else on this topic? It's such a good one. I feel like we could spend a whole hour on tribal data sovereignty and indigenous science collection and gathering. Okay. Other folks, other updates. I see some good stuff in the chat. I don't know if anybody wants to share out loud. Okay.
Angie, I joined. This is Claudia. I was able to join. Happy to at any point, you know, talk about, oh, there I am on the agenda. So I'll wait
It's a really good timing. Yeah. Yeah, let's go to you. What I have
Okay.
the heat health tracker. We'd love to hear it. And do you want me to let you share your screen?
Yeah, I think I can do that. So let's try this out. Can you see that?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a while. But I'm Claudia Brown. I'm a health scientist with the CDC's Climate and Health Program. Excuse the lack of video. I've got a sick kid home and got kicked out of my workstation, which is also his bedroom. So do you guys see this bar that I'm seeing up here in the top, covering up the title?
It just says heat and health tracker and then home. Doesn't look-
Okay, I think it's just my view. I've got this kind of bar blocking my view, but that's fine. So yeah, so I as in my role as a health scientist with the CDC's Climate and Health Program, I've served as the subject matter expert and kind of lead on the climate program side in launching the heat and health tracker. This was launched 3 years now. It was launched in the summer of 2020. Didn't get a lot of attention at that time as we were dealing with COVID and lots of other things going on. But since then, we have done periodic updates to this. So if you are familiar with it, you'll notice that it looks a little different than it has, because just in the last 3 weeks now, we rolled out our latest version. So I guess I'll just run through it as if in general. Is that okay with you, Angie, or should I just highlight the updates?
I think run through it for folks in case people aren't aware that it exists. And oftentimes, you know, usually when we do this, we're looking at it through the lens of how would a tribe interact with this tool, and derive some value out of it. So yeah, that's what we'll be looking for.
Okay, great. So the heat and health tracker is a kind of data dashboard with various information coming in to paint a picture for heat in the US and how it's affecting health. And we have on this landing page more national level information, but then when you type in a zip code here or a county here in the search bar, it will give you county level information. We don't have this at a tribal scale at the moment, though I know tracking has rolled out. For those familiar with the Environmental Public Health Tracking Network, this is closely linked with that, their data explorer, and they have rolled out a tribal boundary layer on there. I cannot speak so much to that, but happy to, bring on someone if that's relevant to you guys to get a demo of that. I can ask somebody from that team to join at some point. So on the heat and health tracker, though, I'll just run through kind of how it works. On this landing page, we have this first map or series of maps is outlining the ways or the various like health impacts of extreme heat. And as you scroll down, you'll see some national stats. And then this second map, you'll see different heat exposure kind of information. So we have historical, current, a monthly forecast, and projected. So I'll run through these maps quickly, but on the daily heat related illness map, what this is showing is that background layer is the average temperature, or sorry, maximum temperature for this day. We have the date here on the right, and you can change that to whatever day you want, and it's showing the maximum temperature in that county that's the colored choropleth map in the background, and then these numbers in the in each this is HHS regions. It's the rate of heat related illness and this is based on emergency department visits of people coming in for heat related illness per 100,000 ED visits. So it's a rate. So it's really showing you compared to other parts of the country which regions are experiencing disproportionately high level rates of heat related illness. So this is for yesterday, and this data is updated daily. And it does change a little bit. If you come back and look at the 11th tomorrow, you might see these numbers shift a little because we are updating the data as it comes in, and a majority of the data does come in within 3 days. So it's only shifting a little bit since it is a rate, but just a kind of caveat on that. So also, you can scroll across these different counties and get that maximum temperature. This is linked to the, let me see. Well, I guess on this map specifically, you can right click and it will take you to a few different pages here. You can look at different stats for that county. This is a tracking product, that info by location. So if I click on that, it should give me that county's information, and these are all stats that are based on the tracking has curated. So it has some demographic information around asthma and air quality, smoking, extreme heat, heart attacks, access to parks, proximity to highways. So then we have the weekly heat related illness. This is giving that same information, but averaged on a weekly basis. So you can go back to weeks on here. And then on this last map, we have heat and worker health. So this is showing state level information on the rate of work-related injuries, illnesses, and deaths due to heat per 10,000 full-time workers. And you can check out previous years here. And the data varies from year to year of which states provided. So you'll see that kind of shift throughout, but the gray is indicating that we do not have data about it. Okay, I'll scroll down real quick and show these. So we have historical heat. This is showing, if it pops up, the annual number of days with a daily maximum temperature above the 95th percentile. So a threshold has been, calculated for each county and this is showing the number of days that exceed that 95th percentile in each of these years. This is on a kind of a running track, but you can pause it. And you can also explore different years here. Now, for all of these metrics, you can click this about the data and it's showing you the metadata behind it. You can also, now on this one, you can right click and click on that Open in Data Explorer. This will take you to Tracking's Data Explorer that I mentioned, and you can, if you want to dig more into the data, you can change what data is selected, what years, what thresholds, and explore that a little bit more. And you can download that data with this top right export data button up here. Let's see, so we've got the current temperature. So this is showing the maximum temperature as well as minimum temperatures forecasted 3 days out. It's not popping up, but it should. So that's usually working. I'll check in and see if something's going on there. And then we have a monthly forecast. So this is showing for the month of July, and it will be updated in the next few days to August. But which areas and counties of the US are expected to see a disproportionately high number of days? This is again looking at number of days expected this month to be above that 95th percentile for that county. And this is based on a historical value of 1981 to 2010. And then we've got projected, so this is looking at time periods of early, mid, late century projected extreme heat for the US. And it's taking a little long to load. But just to keep us rolling, I'll drop a link in the chat so you guys can see. I think my internet's moving a little slow. I'll show you real quick the county level page. So I'm just going to my county, DeKalb County, Georgia. And you can put in any county or zip code and select that. And so this is all information that's tailored to the county that you're selecting. You'll see that we have today's high temperature for the county, number of days this year that have exceeded 90 degrees, days of extreme heat forecasted for this month. That again, that's above that 95th percentile, and the social vulnerability index level for the county. This chart is showing how the current heat season is tracking to the historical average. So that red line is the current high maximum temperatures, and then this blue in the background is the historical average of maximum temperatures. And then down here we have a heat vulnerability data explorer, and so it's a map, interactive map, where you can explore that county that you have selected as well as surrounding areas. You can change the colored layers in the background based on demographics, community characteristics, exposure to heat, like those number of days above 90 degrees. And then we have points of interest here on the right, and right now it's selected on hospitals, but you can change that to daycare centers, fire stations, nursing homes, public schools, parks, these kind of critical infrastructure that can be used for adaptive, increasing the adaptive capacity. You can click on these points and it will pull up details about that location. Okay, and then lastly, we have population characteristics for that county listed. Percentage of population that is a minority, percentage of population without health insurance, percent of population with limited English speaking ability, and percent of population living in poverty. You'll see at the bottom, we have the national median as a comparison of kind of where this county ranks in comparison to the rest of the US, and age breakdown as well. I feel like I've used up a lot of your time, but I'll just make one quick note that we have all of the metadata and information. If you go to the About the Data here, it's all listed, so you can explore that a little bit more. Our contact information is on here. And we do get a lot of inquiries about the heat and health tracker, which is great. And we're happy to get on the phone and talk about it and explore other data options as well. And then some general resources. So with that, I'll stop talking and see if there are any questions or comments from anyone.
Thank you so much, Claudia. I see some, at least Patricia has to go. Patricia, I'm going to send you an article that we're going to review later just because I want to make sure it's on your radar. It might actually be good authors for you. So that's coming your way. But Claudia, that was super helpful. And I think Serena Vega, who is back on board with us with the Tribal Climate Health Project, both of our brains are probably blowing right now with all the new indicators that we might need to strip out from this tool and throw into our easy tool. What I particularly like is that you have projections, which wasn't loading, but I'm excited for it. It makes me want to rewrite the vulnerability assessment I am just finished for the heat chapter, dang it, which happens every day because there's always something new. But yeah, I'll be excited to see those projections. And I really like the heat vulnerability. So a question I have is like, it sounds like you can dive pretty deep. Most stuff's at the county level, but I liked being able to visualize at a smaller scale. Is that only true for the vulnerability map?
Yeah, yes, where I guess, so the question is like, if you want to dig into which part of the information.
You had, so, I'm thinking about it from a tribal perspective. Tribes are usually, sub-county level. And if I wanted to look closely at the heat vulnerability map, it just seems like I can scroll, it's spatial, I can scroll down, I can downscale pretty far down, location to something location specific. And I really like that I'd be able to easily locate hospitals and other critical facilities. So super cool.
Yeah, and that map is, you can zoom in more, zoom out. So there's a lot of functionality there for sure.
Any bells or whistles in there specifically for tribes, like tribal boundaries or anything like that?
So that data explorer, that environmental public health tracking data explorer, let me pull that back up and share it. But there are tribal boundaries on there. I need to get someone from that program to demo it because I'm not exactly, I haven't messed around with it, but I know that was a new feature that they have integrated. So I'll drop a link to that one as well. And that's what's in the background here is their data explorer is like the repository where all this information is. I mean, almost like too much information, we found that this is their groundwork, and you can really dig in here on different things. And let me see if I just did a search of tribal. I think this must be all the indicators. I just put in tribal, and I'm wondering if these indicators are coming up because it's showing you can select it at a tribal scale. Yeah, tribal areas.
Awesome. I have not seen, I look at this tool pretty often. I hadn't seen that. That's really, really great.
Yeah, so let's see what that looks like. But it's taking a while to load. There we go. Yeah, so you can this looks like this is the tribal layer that they're using. And again, you can click on these and there's a way to kind of explore that area more, even chart it. Again, I need to bring someone else from tracking to dig more into this side of it. But yeah, at least this information is available for some data. I know they want to expand it to all of their data.
I see, I don't want to take up all the time. So Lori has a question.
Yeah.
The woman of many questions. Thank you. For the boundaries, it looks like lots are missing. Do you know where you got these boundaries and how tribes can approach you if their boundaries are either not showing or are incorrect?
That would go to tracking support at cdc.gov. That question about the boundaries. I'm not sure how they are. That's what I was just looking at the metadata to see if they had
Mhm.
documentation of like how they're using these boundaries. But it's not.
Yeah, I poked around and I didn't see it. And then, oh wait, but I did just see something else that I was looking for. I
Yeah,
saw API resource page. I was like, where do I find
Yes.
the API? I just saw it on your screen.
Where did that go?
It
Here it
was-
is.
There it
API
is.
resource page.
Thank you. That was the other thing I was looking for. Really appreciate it.
I will drop that in the chat too. And I know, they have functionality where you can embed their maps. And that's essentially what not this, but on the main page, when
Mhm.
I'm looking at these maps, these are embedded maps from the tracking portal. So, for most of or a lot of these. And so this is something that is not unique to us. Anybody can actually grab these maps and put it on their local pages as well.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Alex and Pauline, right? You guys are both with Healthy Places Index. What are your thoughts? Because you guys have an extreme heat tool. There's like the elite gold level extreme heat tools out there now. There's this one, there's chat, there's you guys. Did you see anything in here that you thought was cool and interesting and you might think about?
Yeah, I was interested in the heat related illness aspect. But unfortunately, I think it's only available at that
HHS region.
HHS region. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
looking I was looking at the public health tracker data explorer, and I couldn't find it at any lower geography than at the state level. But
That's
yeah,
a
I
whole
mean,
other
it's
can of worms that I could spend a whole day talking about why we don't have that at a more downscaled level. But unfortunately, it's like data owned at the state level. And yeah, I'm hoping our data modernization folks are trying to figure this out.
yeah, and actually here in California, we're actually working on a heat syndromic surveillance thing that I don't know will have data publicly available at lower geographies, but it's definitely interesting to have. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you, Claudia, so much for showing that to us. Serena and I have I'll put it on our list of things to add to the easy tool among all the other cool stuff coming out. I had one more thing I wanted to share with the group, but wanted to make sure there were no other questions or updates before I move to one more thing.
Actually, one thing I was wondering is does this tool connect with the National Weather Service's heat risk tool at all? Because I know they also do projections and then issue warnings based off of the projected temperature.
Yeah, so the heat risk tool, is it even out yet? It wasn't out last month. It was only available, for California, Arizona, just a few states on the West Coast, and they are launching it at a national level. There is someone from our team that's been working with them on that, and we are hoping to get that integrated for sure. It was just a matter of it wasn't published in time by the time we needed to do our update. So as soon as that's available, we're hoping to roll that in. And that's an exciting new tool that, if you don't know about it, it's really the first national heat risk index, or that is using health information to set relevant kind of thresholds. So it's going to be something I think really useful.
Yeah, great to
Well,
know.
thank you, Claudia. The visuals in there are stuff that I can see myself just easily dropping into reports and PowerPoints. Thank you. All right, so Lori was nice enough to inform me that she got word from her colleagues at OEHA that in September they'd be willing to showcase their new wildfire tool that will be public and live by that point, right, Lori? Perfect. So we will hear more about that then. Wanted to quickly mention that the Tribal Climate Health Project is recruiting. We're recruiting California tribes to participate in our next data development project. So this is a BIA funded work, and we are going to basically be providing free data gathering. So consulting with me, Serena, our team, we're going to be capturing all the publicly accessible data for tribes that participate using our EASY tool, and it's going to help us refine that tool and learn a little bit more about tribal data practices while we go. So we're looking for a few more tribes to participate. If you know anybody in California who you think would appreciate some free data gathering assistance, send them our way. We would really love to work with them. And what that means is we usually point them back out to all of your resources, but the EASY tool is how we take inventory of all of that, and then we gather it in that worksheet. I wanted to share this too. I dropped it in the chat and I just saw it yesterday come out. It's from the Southwest Climate Adaptation Science Center. You might have seen it. It's a new article with some of our friends. Also, I think the Desert Research Institute participated in this. It's called Drivers of California's Changing Wildfires, a State of the Knowledge Synthesis. And I just thought, man, this is the other thing that makes me want to rewrite my the wildfire section of my latest vulnerability assessment, because it's very comprehensive. It does a good job of talking about why fire has changed so much in the West, and particularly California. You know, you hear a lot of rumors and a lot of blaming about why, that this does a nice job of synthesizing a really cohesive academic perspective. And so, you know, I just jotted a few main points, and what I like about it is it's incorporating a lot of Indigenous, the role of Indigenous communities, why fire was used in the past, why mid-century fire suppression policies restricted prescribed burning, why that changed the landscape, and why we're now seeing maybe fewer, I didn't really know this, fewer number of fires, but it makes sense, but larger. I knew larger fires. I just didn't know we're seeing fewer, but I think it's because of the fire suppression policies. So fewer small fires, more really big, severe fires. And, you know, some of the drivers, not all being climate change, but of course, climate change, changing both heat and vapor and various other trends. But, you know, the influence of land cover changes, fuel, human development, and just some good numbers, like the kinds of numbers I would put in a report like this, like 18 of the 20 largest fires in recorded history have occurred since 2003. And then there have been 60,000 structures that have been destroyed and 302 civilian and firefighter fatalities. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you really make it real, even if it's statewide. So I just wanted to share it with you because I think I don't normally like to share academic stuff because I don't think it's community ready enough. But this one is written so nicely that for at least folks in California, I think there's a lot of stuff that could be ripped out of here and dropped into reports and really used to make the case for wildfire being a pretty severe and urgent issue for tribes. Okay, so I'm going to save this until next time, but just know that we are probably going to be out there harassing you soon about various parts of our program for the Tribal Climate Health Summit, which is happening in November at Paula. We've already got lots of people registered, but this one's going to be focused on developing, implementing, and evaluating adaptation plan strategies. Where last time we focused mainly on vulnerability assessments. So that's this one, and I want to poke around and see who you guys might suggest for speakers or for topics. Maybe we'll do that next time. So that's it. We will then meet again in September. I want to thank you all for joining us, and contact me anytime in between if you have other ideas for things that you would like to see at these meetings. Okay. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.